Ouija, Origin of Evil from 2016 is a horror sequel to the 2014 film Ouija, which was critically and audience panned upon its release, was still financially successful, which led to this sequel, but everyone hated the original Ouija, even Jason Blum, who produced it, who then went and had a conversation with Mike Flanagan and literally had to convince him to make this sequel for him.
Going into it, when Jason, because Jason's very aware of all this as well, and when he had approached me with it, he was like, look, I know what you're going to say, but hear me out, and I really want you to, I want you to pick this thing back up and do whatever you'd like to do. And I mean, that was irresistible.
And make it better. And in my opinion, that's what Mike Flanagan did. And we're going to talk about it today. This is our series where we do a deep dive on directors, actors, movie franchises, and for this season we are talking about Mike Flanagan. We've already talked about Absentia and Oculus in previous videos you can go watch, and today we're talking about Ouija, Origin of Evil. This was interesting because I never saw this movie, but watching it, I'm like, this seems really familiar. And I realize now it's because it was one of those movies that when it was coming out, I saw the trailer before like every single movie for months leading up to it, but I never caught it. So I finally watched it for this.
I felt the exact same way. Yeah, I'm like, have I seen this? And like, no, I haven't. But like, I remember so much about it. Probably for the same reason you just said. There's trailers.
Yeah, and it also has a lot of Mike Flanagan actors that come back for him, such as the star Elizabeth Reeser, who plays Alice the mom, Henry Thomas, who plays Father Thomas Hogan in the movie, and also Kate Siegel has another smaller role in this movie. All of them obviously return.
Both kids, right? The older daughter was in the last movie.
Yes, Annalie Basso, who plays Lena, was in Oculus as the younger version of Kaylee. And then Lulu Wilson plays Doris.
Hill House, right? She was in Hill House?
She was in Hill House, yes. And starting from around this time for the next few years, if you ever need a kid actor in your movie, it's either Lulu Wilson or that other blonde one that's also in Hill House. Whose name I can't remember.
The one who's in Ghostbusters?
Yeah, Ghostbusters, everything.
Yeah. They're mother and daughter in this film, but in Hill House, they were the same character.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
That's crazy.
That's great. And I just got to say, I'm someone who's extremely tough on child performances. I thought Lulu Wilson was excellent in this movie, and Annalie, the older sister, also was great in the movie. Oculus, she was just fine. She was just there, but really great in this, too.
Still figuring it out. I think she got it in this one.
I talked about it being a sequel to the original Ouija. Did you ever see the original
Not that I remember.
Ouija
no.
film? Yeah, neither did I. I never saw it. It was panned critically, but it made over $100 million on a small budget, so of course they made a sequel. And this movie is, I agree with it, but it's also regarded as just like one of the biggest improvements from original to a sequel ever. I think Mike Flanagan does a really good job with what he was given here. I think this is the first time where he's not making something that he wrote and wanted to do. He's working with something already existing a little bit, even though it's kind of a new story. I really enjoyed this movie. What did you think?
I didn't like it that much. I don't know. I didn't care for it. I don't know. You watch something, it just doesn't hit right. I don't know. There was some elements I liked, but overall, just putting it all together, I'm just like, eh. If you take out the credits, it's 90 minutes.
That's always good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the opening scene is definitely my favorite, I think.
Okay, I don't know how she's doing this, but this is a scam, Dad.
And then, like, they leave, and it's like, oh, why did you have to do that? I lost that $5. But she's not doing it, like, to be evil. She's doing it to help him.
She deserved it, Mom.
It's your job to stand at the curtains and not attack the clients. And you, young lady?
What's a scam?
I thought that was a very interesting trick, and like the kids are in on it. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I liked the movie. I liked everything, from a directorial editing standpoint. One of the big things that everyone praises about this movie is visually how it really tries to commit to being, a 60s style, even having, the cigarette burns in the film.
Yes, I literally went like, is that a fucking cigarette burn? I'm like, what? I had to roll back. I'm like, oh my God, they did it. That's great.
Yeah, and just the whole filtering and the color palette, like everything, it looks a little bit vintage. And obviously the costuming and all that is great too. But even the dialogue.
My mom left her keys out.
Groovy. You dig?
Yes, ma'am.
And not in like a cringe manner to me where it like was overbearing, but it was just in there to be a little bit more realistic. And I enjoyed that. And I also just love this time period, 60s, 70s of film and movies. Wasn't alive during that time, so I didn't get to experience it, but I just, The Nice Guys is another one that comes to mind. Like, I just really love movies set in this time
I
period.
rewatched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and it had that exact same feel.
Yeah,
Like,
69, yeah.
Yeah, it's like watching this, I'm like, they did a good job here. Feels very similar.
Yeah, a quick reference to Oculus, the movie we talked about last time. The Oculus mirror is in this movie as well, in the basement where they go down where all the creepy stuff happens. So I thought that was pretty funny. Not financially, but critically and audience-wise. I mean, the original Ouija had a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 24% audience score. This wasn't a audience love it much more than the critics. Everyone hated it. The director of that movie, that was his first movie he's ever directed, and he's never directed anything else. Like, it is one of the few rare cases where it's universally accepted as a bad movie. So for this one to come out, still be very financially successful, and be certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, regardless of what you think of the movie, that just shows the talent of Mike Flanagan to be able to basically save this. Even though they didn't continue on with anything after this, I just find that to be the most fascinating part of the story.
Yeah, he definitely tried. There was a lot of stuff I like, and a lot of his Flanagan stuff, the whispering, the glowing eyes, the stuff with like the stretching face, I thought was very effective. I thought like, oh, that's creepy.
So was there anything about it that you specifically didn't like, or is it just that you didn't like it enough?
Just the overall feel. Like, I don't know. I just liked Absentia so much, and it's not like there's much to complain about. I mean, maybe more in the spoilers you'll bring up something that'll help remind me. But yeah, it just felt kind of like, okay.
I totally get that. And it's also, look, this isn't, when we talked about the last one, and I was like, I wish it was just like an evil mirror movie and not, so Mike Flanagan-y. That's like my one movie of his where I feel like that. This is like, we got that. It's like, this movie isn't the deep character study. It's just a possession movie. Like, that's all it is.
Maybe that's why, because I've definitely seen a lot of possession movies, and I'm just like, sick of them.
Yeah, it's just a possession movie, and I think to me it comes down to the performances because I liked them all so much. Henry Thomas is excellent in this.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he was in this. I thought Hill House was his first thing with Flanagan.
Yeah.
So him being in this, I was like, I did the thing. I'm like, oh shit. And he doesn't show up until like 15, 20 minutes into the movie, and I'm like, oh, awesome. I didn't know how big of a role he was going to play. He ended up playing a very large role.
Yeah. And there's definitely good scenes where it's like they both lost their spouse.
I wish you'd let me show you. Let me help you talk to your wife.
Just nice little scene between them, good character stuff, and there's there's a line I liked a lot where like after stuff's going down, and the mom says, "All right, we should split up," blah blah blah, and the sister's, "Why would we split up? That's stupid."
Yeah.
Just shitting on horror films. I'm like, okay, that's funny.
When it comes to recommending this movie, I think it all just comes down to, do you want to watch a possession movie? Because if you do, I think this one's pretty good. Like, compared to all the shitty ones that are out there, it's not The Exorcist, it's not one of the best of all time. It's just pretty solid, and it's PG-13. You can watch it, just on a date night or whatever. It's fine, and I enjoyed it. Again, I've praised her already, but I thought Lulu Wilson was great in this. I mean, I hate most children performances, so it's like even if you can just be good, it's like I'm so happy, And I love the scene where she's telling
Boyfriend character?
Yeah, Mikey, the boyfriend character, played by Parker Mack, who is just in it. He's just fine. She's talking to him about what it feels like to be strangled.
You see stars, then darkness, and the last thing you feel is cold.
I watched an interview with Mike Flanagan where he said everyone he did an audition for, that was the scene that they did the audition.
She was the only actress who had come in and chosen not to try to deliver the monologue as though it was frightening or scary or disturbing. She delivered it casually, innocently, and with a smile, which was such a sophisticated choice. And exactly how I wanted it to be read in the film, that I felt immediately like this young actress is leads ahead of her time.
And I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. I wouldn't fucking know how to do that.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's such a good point. I probably would have. I'm getting mad at myself as if, like I would do, like say creepily on purpose.
I thought maybe, this is his first like mainstream popcorn horror movie. Maybe it won't. Nope. Still super bleak ending. Literally has to kill the little sister.
Yes, I'm like, what? She's dead?
Yeah. no redemption. Then the mom, then she kills her own mom, and then goes crazy or whatever. And the ending didn't really work on me, but that is again, it's part of a franchise. They were trying to do something. I did like the effectiveness of the ending. It was an effective ending. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the scene where like Henry Thomas comes in and like they're doing like the seance.
Gloria, what's your middle name?
Lynn? Is that right?
Remarkable.
And it's like another like gaslighting thing. It's like,
My mother's middle name was Lynn.
I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But like, I felt like that didn't really lead to much, like, because we already know there's a problem.
It was just to convince the mother.
yeah.
But I thought that was his best scene, though. I mean, his delivery when he's explaining all that.
I don't think your daughter is a fraud. I believe she is channeling powers and forces we do not understand.
I mean, yes, it's very exposition heavy, but I really liked, and I think Flanagan does this a lot of times when there's an exposition heavy scene, he'll intersplice over another scene currently happening.
Oh,
so
they were in the basement, right?
yeah, because she took the boyfriend, he arrived, and she took him down to the basement. So while we're getting all this exposition, it's cutting back to something else happening. So it's not like the movie has come to a complete halt, which is really good.
And like, Lulu delivered that strangulation thing to the boyfriend. If I was that boyfriend, and this little girl's like, oh yeah, there's more treasure in the basement, just keep reaching in there, I'd be like, no, I'm leaving. You go down there.
Although I would want the money. That's
yes,
true.
Yes, that's true.
I would do it now.
I need it now.
Yeah.
I'd risk it.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I didn't go into this thinking it was like a masterpiece or anything. I more so looked at it at the lens of like the impressiveness of what came from it. Even though I never saw the original Ouija, just hearing how bad it was, like how can you take that and make such a accepted sequel? And he was able to do it. I think that's the biggest feat of this.
I'm just thinking how much Flanagan had to do just to make something decent. Like how bad was it already where he had to pull it up to something decent. I mean, that's really all I can say. It's solid. You know what I mean? It did its job. There's nothing really special about it. There's nothing really that's like that people are gonna like look back on like it's not gonna become some cult type thing. It's like, oh man, this movie. It just feels like it was a job almost. And it was, right? Jason Blum's like, you gotta do this movie.
Yeah, you gotta do this movie for me.
He's like, listen, all I've done is shit. You gotta do something good for me.
He's like, I have to get one hit for every 10 misses.
Oh my god! Didn't Blumhouse didn't we think Blumhouse used to be like A24 and then like Blumhouse turned to like complete shit and now like A24 rose from the ashes?
Yes, but they are, in my opinion, still similar in the sense that, like, there are a shit ton of A24 movies that are bad and no one talks about. The difference is they're an independent studio and they don't get theater releases and no one cares. I think they're just good at, like, figuring out which ones are good. Let's promote and market those.
Mm-hmm.
As where Blumhouse just puts everything in theaters. So they're like, give it $5 million, maybe it'll make $100 million.
Someone's going to see it.
Yeah, and then every once in a while, you Get Out, or you get, a good movie every once in a while.
Yeah, luckily Jordan Peele's like, nope, we're leaving. Sorry, Blumhouse. We're leaving.
But that's Jason Blum's thing. It works for him. You just give 10 movies $5 million. One of them will make you a profit.
I just imagine Jason Blum as some hack, just sitting at a desk with cigarettes, big ashtray, like, oh, we need a movie about.
Have you seen like any interviews or anything with him?
No.
He's exactly how you're describing.